Well, hi everyone. Monday, the 23rd of June, Club Grubbery week starts afresh. G'day, Johnny Larder, mate. How are you?
Excellent, Hoodie. Great to be back, and we've got a fantastic lineup this week, and what a start to it.
I know. How do I look with this new microphone, mate? Does it look professional?
Yeah, I was thinking you're very Tucker
Tucker
Carlson.
Carlson?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You're thinking that way. We've come a long way since we used to mount the computer on a couple of telephone books and a washing machine, haven't we?
I'm not sure about that.
No, we haven't come that far, believe me, if you saw this setup. Anyhow, great to have you all back on. Thanks for watching Club Grubbery as you continue to do. I think this is episode 500 and something. And we've got a couple of old faithfuls back on with us. Not so old, I shouldn't say that, but we have Faith Ranson, who's been with us three times before. How are you, Faith?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. And we have Russell Broadbent, former Lower House MP, the man who put integrity into politics, I'd like to say, because Russell, 25 years plus a veteran of federal politics, and you've been actively involved in a whole lot of other community stuff. You've been a stalwart for people like Faith and so many other of the vaccine injured. And we're going to talk to you about what's happening now post-election, seeing that you're looking a lot more relaxed than normal. So welcome to the program.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
Right. So, Russell, it's great that you're here because, as I said, you've been a champion of the vaccine injured. You've gone way outside your electorate of Monash to help people all around Australia. You stood, I think, as a lone voice in the lower house. And as a result, it cost you a pre-selection battle. I'm sure that was one of the reasons that led to you running as an independent, having to leave the Liberal Party. So we just want to thank you before we go any further for all the efforts that you've made on that behalf. And we would like to discuss with you where to from here a bit later on in the program. But
Thanks, Graham.
it's really good to have you on with Faith because you've been a champion for her too. Faith, you were one of the first vaccine injured to declare, and you've had a real journey. So, would you like to just, for those who haven't caught up with your journey, just briefly go through when it started and where it's led to?
Yep. So it's crazy to think that I am almost 4 years down the track. I had my first COVID vaccine in July of 2021, and I was only 16 at the time. I was working at a pharmacy, I was going to school, I had no prior health issues, anything like that. And my first dose, I was completely fine, just, the sore arm everyone had after having the jab. And then my second one in early August of that year, I was completely fine afterwards. And then 3 days later, I was struck down with severe abdominal pain and nausea. And originally, they thought it was appendicitis. So I had my appendix out in that week. So the reaction was on the Monday. And then it was like by Friday, I had my appendix out. And for a couple of weeks, we thought the pain continuing was just, post surgery. And then things started spiraling from there. In November of that year, I developed a ticking disorder called functional neurological disorder. So, no doubt throughout this interview, you'll probably see me ticking or moving my head. I'm completely fine. I'm not like seizing or anything. It's just something I do now. And then in the February of 2022, I went to the Royal Children's Hospital because here in Tasmania, we were just hitting dead ends. No doctors wanted to help us due to it was a very politicized situation. Nobody wanted to A, get rid of their certifications, or B, didn't know what to do, or C, just completely didn't talk. It was like an unspoken thing. We were like the dirty little secret. And then at the Children's Hospital, I was there for 2 weeks and did all treatments and everything. And ever since then, it's now, what, 2025? I have still had hospital visits and my life has been completely changed. As of lately, I've been having issues with my heart. So I have POTS now, which was diagnosed about 6 to 8 months ago. But now we're having issues with my blood pressure, blood pooling in my legs and arms. So I always look purple and a lot of other just issues that we're following up at the moment.
Far out. Do the ripples in this pond ever end? I mean, you just
It's like when we get to like a plateau where we've got things kind of under control, but every day is different. Like today, I have had 2 hours of sleep because I had a very rough night. But I I put on a good face and figured this would be a good thing to do. But it changes daily. So I'm doing lots of tests and things with cardiologists, and we're currently at a bit of a problem of I have lost a lot of weight, and I can't gain any weight at the moment because I have a really fast metabolism and no appetite because of this. So it's just a endless spiral.
wow, Johnny.
And look, I suppose, Faith, this is one of the difficulties because you look, you look remarkable, really, for what
Yeah.
you're going through. So people probably just don't get that sense that you're actually suffering
Mm.
so horrendously.
Yeah, I try to find ways of, I guess, distracting myself in a sense. I find that if, I dress a fun way, put on a bit of makeup, a bit of a nice perfume or something, it just kind of helps me mentally with the day and helps me kind of hide it a little bit. Not that I'm ashamed of the fact of this. I mean, I'm openly speaking about it and openly abdicating and things like that. It's just something I do for myself and it brings joy to myself and it definitely helps on the long days that are really, really tough.
Mm.
Yeah. You were hoping for a career in the Navy the last time we spoke to you, and yeah,
Mm,
I was watching, I think, some documentary the other day, and there was a lady commanding officer on board one of Australia's most toothy guided missile frigates, and I thought of you straight away because the bridge was manned. There were about 50% women on the bridge, and I thought you could just imagine Faith being there, and
mm.
you know what I mean? It's sort of
Yeah, I actually wanted to join army, but it's still the same. When I got sick, I had to give up my army cadets. I had to give up so much, and I sadly won't get that back. But I'm at that point where I want to, start using this to my advantage. It's not something that I have to work for. It has to work for me, if that makes sense. Like I'm sick of kind of just being sick, but I know that will never change. I'm kind of stuck with this, but it's making the most of it that matters. And I'm hoping through talking with you guys and talking with other people, I can make the most of it.
Mm. Well, luckily enough, Hoodie, I think in today's Defence Force, the Army have probably got more boats than the Navy. So it probably it probably wouldn't make much difference these days where you go into, Faith. But it must have been absolutely soul destroying for you to grow up with that. I mean, Hoodie talks about his boyhood dream to fly. I mean, you obviously wanted to join the Army.
Mm,
Just once again, just another obstacle that's been put in front of you unnecessarily because of a corrupt decision by a government.
mm. Yeah, I have so many, like I'm lucky that I found another passion that I absolutely love and adore. So I'm lucky I found a direction, but there's a lot of people out there who are probably stuck, not knowing what to do and like just generally, I guess, stuck. And I'm just lucky because in the army I wanted to go into doing policing and forensic stuff like that. But now I've pivoted and gone into psychology and criminology. So it's not too much of a pivot. I just won't be in the army.
wow, Russell Broadbent. There might be a future for her at Parliament House with those qualifications. You might think.
Well, as John said, Faith has a problem, a big problem. She looks terrific. And when you look that good and as articulate as she is, it's very hard for people to identify that she might be ill. This isn't just Faith's problem. This is a problem across Australia with thousands and thousands of people who are severely damaged. Severely damaged. If you hear anger in my voice, it's true that these people are severely damaged, and there's been a major backflip since the election campaign. So I don't want to talk about me, but I want to talk about butlers no longer recommending COVID jabs for children under 18. No media release, no speech, no reporting by the ABC. And what was the press release said? It said, COVID-19 vaccine is not recommended for healthy infants, children, or adolescents who do not have medical conditions that increase their risk of severe illness. This is because the risk of severe illness was extremely low in this cohort over the course of the pandemic, and the benefits of vaccination are not considered to outweigh the potential harms. And there's not one federal politician that has come out and said, oh, why have they changed this? What's the background information? Who made the recommendation? How is it that I have never heard of a vaccine being withdrawn from the market except for thalidomide? Yet this is virtually a withdrawal from the market, a changed recommendation to the vaccine schedule. And Graham, you see that Faith would not have had to take this vaccine. It wouldn't have been recommended for her age.
Yep.
It wouldn't have been recommended for young men her age who had clear symptoms of myocarditis and other heart issues, and now Faith has a heart issue. Yeah, look, it's extremely frustrating. It's more frustrating that there's no one in the federal parliament who's prepared to take this up. And in fact, they say, oh, no, we don't need to get into those issues because the science is done on that, and we're walking away from that. We want to talk about what Trump's doing or what's happening in America or Iran or Russia, No. No. There's some things you can't walk away from whether you're a federal member or not a federal member of parliament. And my heart still bleeds. It breaks my heart to know that Faith and all her cohort exist in Australia and their government walked away from them.
This goes way beyond what people see as this is just another vaccine injury story. I mean, this disaster has impacted so many different spheres around the world. For example, the Virginia-class submarine that the Australian Navy is hoping to get by 2030, Blind Freddie knows we're never going to see those submarines, even though they're costing us $32 million a day for the next 30 years to fund them. And the reason being that there are not enough skilled workers in the shipyards in the US and in Britain who are building these submarines because a lot of them were let go during COVID.
Sorry.
So, for me, it's like, for us to get these submarines, which we'll never see, they're looking for welders. They're not looking for submariners. They're not looking for commanders. They're looking for people who can weld to make these submarines. They're making 1.3 submarines a year, and they need to make 2.3 submarines a year. So, this reaches far beyond. And look at the military service personnel who are no longer in service anymore because of the mandates. Look at those who are no longer well enough to fly or to take frontline combat positions because they took the vaccine. This has ramifications that go way beyond our wildest dreams.
And it's all the technology that goes with it as well. We've got people, employed working in other countries on this issue. And, you talk about Blind Freddie, it was never an option. Even the Americans are never going to give up their needs in front of ours.
Never, especially
we're a tiny country, smaller than California, or about the same size. We become irrelevant very quickly. And all this talk about the Prime Minister not being able to get a meeting with the President, for goodness sake, who is the Australian Prime Minister in the context of the world's activity? I always kept that in mind as a federal member. Just keep in mind who you are, actually.
Yeah, We tend to think we're much bigger and more powerful than we think.
That's right.
I laugh when I hear Penny Wong come out and say she's urging the Israeli government to show restraint. I mean, yeah, right. I wonder if that ever gets anywhere. But Faith, you've gone down this road for 4 years, and we've watched you dance a diplomatic dance around the whole drama that you've been through. You've been very astute. You have made sure that you didn't want to rock the boat. There are some institutions that treated you very well in spite of what was going on. And you've admitted, we're not going to name names or institutions, but the university that you attend bent over backwards to accommodate you, which was great, and more power to them. And now you've taken a different shift. There's something shifted in your approach to this whole thing. Tell us about that.
I think it stems from the fact that I'm tired. I'm very tired of sitting here looking very pretty, if I say so myself, and putting on a smile. But I am just tired. Frankly, I'm tired of the denial. I'm tired of just fearing going to a specialist that I've never met before and wondering if they're going to take on, the fact that it was a reaction and treat me as a normal patient, or if I'm going to get a passive aggressive specialist. It's very like 50-50, and it shouldn't be that way. People shouldn't be scared to go to a doctor. They've taken an oath to treat you, to make sure that you are healthy. They are your health practitioner.
Mm.
And I have to worry about the fact of, am I paying $500 for an appointment just to get pretty much told that it's all in my head and that they can't do anything for me? Like, it is tiring having to deal with this. And I am just frankly tired of needing to cater my whole life to this situation of being vaccine injured. And I've kind of at that point where I need to make it work for me and need to, I guess, I'm willing to put myself on a pedestal so that someone else isn't as tired as me, that someone else knows where to go to get support and help, knows what route to go down. Like, I am at that point where I'm ready to fight. I guess I kind of want revenge. I know I could probably never go against like big pharma or anything like that. Like, I am one person. I could probably never do that. But if at the end of the day, I can sit here knowing that someone knows where to start, that's a win in my book. If a doctor knows how to approach a situation where a patient is presenting with a reaction, to approach it with faith and humility and respect, that a doctor should respect a patient, then that's a win in my book. It's all about the simple wins that should already be put in place. That as I am 20 now, I was 16 when I had this. And it is now that time where we need to talk about this. It is a situation that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Faith, can you maybe just expand a little bit? I mean, you obviously mentioned the financial aspects of going to the doctor. I mean, where is the scheme for injury left you? I mean, where are the Australians turning now in terms of compensation for being injured? I mean, is it easy to navigate? Is it worthwhile? Is it working? What's happening with it?
Well, in research for this, and after having a meeting with Russell earlier, late last week, I did a little bit of digging on the government websites, specifically catering to vaccinations and COVID-19, as well as the vaccination handbook. There is no little section that says this is where you should go or this is what you should do. There is none of that from what I could see. There is no statistics out there that is easily, readily available for the public. I looked at one specific section and it said that reactions are extremely rare. That's fine. You can put that there. But what statistic goes along with that claim? Like, it is not easy for the general public. I'm lucky in the aspect of I learned at university how to look at sources, look at medical research papers and things and how to read them. But the general public don't know how to read them.
Yeah.
So there's not that accessibility out there for just a general person on the street. But not only that, it is incredibly hard to get into a doctor at the moment. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have struggled to get an appointment with a GP or follow up with specialists and things like that. I have found it even harder to gain a specialist because on my medical document it says vaccine reaction, which is terrible. I'm lucky in the aspect of, I guess, it was recorded that I have a lovely little piece of paper that says I have a serious adverse reaction and that it was a reported reaction. But not a lot of people have that because it is incredibly hard to figure out if you've had a reaction or not, because how they look at it is from the scale of a serious reaction is like people like me who have long disabilities for the rest of their life, or myocarditis. I can't say it, but you all know what I mean.
Myocarditis.
And there we go. And issues like that, that's a serious reaction. But people aren't looking at the fact that people are constantly catching flus more than they used to, or are more worn down than they used to be. Like there's so many factors that aren't being considered.
Well, one in particular is that Qantas have had 2 incapacitations. Qantas itself, pilots sitting in the captain's seat, in the seat, have had 2 incapacitations in recent months. Those sorts of things questions need to be asked.
You mean while flying?
While flying, yes. One the other day in Sydney passed out just after they landed. Just after they landed, he passed out.
I know of many people that I've met for the first time at uni that have we've had like conversations like this because I'm doing psychology. So a lot of my friends are very interested in medicine and things like that. And we've had conversations and I've gone, oh, I had this happen to me. And they go, no way. After I had it, I had this, and I've never been the same.
Yep.
Or oh, I have a friend, or oh, my mum's been like this, my dad's been like it's not, we shouldn't be necessarily looking at the number of recorded injuries because last time I checked that was just at like 100,000, but last time I checked that was in 2022, so correct me if I'm wrong. But there's also all the smaller reactions, the long prolonged reactions, not the immediate ones that are generally measured.
That's true.
John, our friend Alan Novak in South Australia went to visit a GP only a couple of weeks ago, and I think posed a question, are you still vaccinating people under 18? He said, yeah. He said, don't you know there's been an amendment to the vaccine, the immunology handbook? And he said, no, I'm not aware. And it comes back to what you said, Russell. Why are these things not being announced? It's because they're worried about the return rate for booster shots. They're worried about people's apprehension, and why wouldn't they have apprehension about vaccines? And if they admit that publicly, then the screws are going to be on for a Royal Commission. The screws are going to be on for some scrutiny, and action needs to be taken. Are we over in this country having bureaucrats and politicians, ministers in particular, protecting their own arse?
Well, absolutely. But even more important than them protecting their backsides, and they'll get recommendations from their bureaucrats to do exactly that. When would you see a major decision by any government department not back up their press release with the reasons for the decision? You always see the press release has the first line of what it's all about and then the reasons for the government change, if a government changes. And here we have a major recommendation, change from the authorities, from the health department, that not to vaccinate with these vaccines people up to 18 years of age. Not to. Yet there's no explanation from government as to why they've changed their position. If we had that, that would open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
Well, and it begs the question too, Russell, was when did they become aware that this cohort of people were being affected and the harms were greater than the benefits?
I remember the Royal Children's Hospital director being on radio saying, look, we don't have to worry about COVID here with children. We've got one COVID case, but she's not in here for COVID. She's in here because she broke her arm or something. You know, she's in here for another reason. There is not a problem. Children don't need protection from this flu. End of story.
Yes, that's so funny because they denied me the first time around that we sent a referral to them.
I think you should tell that story. We're not denigrating the hospital. We're not. I'm not.
Yeah, they denied me the first. We sent a referral and they sent back a sorry, we can't accept you, which my GP was very shocked because he had been practicing for about 30 years, I believe. And he was like, this is they've never denied.
It was the first time ever for that doctor, wasn't it, Faith?
He had never been denied any referral to them in the past. And I believe, I could be wrong, but their reason was because they were in a code brown or code orange due to COVID, but other people in the practice were being admitted. So we were all like, what is going on? Why am I being denied? I'm within their age limit. I'm giving all this medical documents to them and they denied me. And it actually took us reaching out on social media and being like, hey, this is their email, this is their phone number, please, like, we need to go over there and get medical help. Like, we are stuck here in Tassie. And it took all that and the power of the people for them to call us and be like, hey, can you stop people calling and emailing us like, you have a bed, be here by Monday. Like, it shouldn't have taken that.
What's it feel like to be a medical hot potato?
Oh, it's great. You know, I get to be called an anomaly by most doctors. So it's great.
Speaking of doctors, Faith, you have been treated by a prominent television doctor who will remain nameless. He has been a proponent of the vaccines. Like, well, in fact, you wouldn't be a prominent television doctor unless you were, John, would you? Because they're all expounding the virtues of safe and effective and all that sort of stuff. So you have been under the treatment of this particular doctor. Have you had any discourse with him about your position on the vaccines versus his?
No, I haven't. I haven't been in contact with this doctor for a while just because I haven't really needed them. They gave me a really good direction on where to go and a lot of recommendations and things like that, which I'm very thankful for all the help I could get. But they didn't fight me on it. They didn't really fight back at all. They were like, we're aware, we're okay, like, I'll help you. And I was very thankful for that. As much as we can dog on them as much as we'd like, it was reassuring that they decided to backflip and saw an opening to, I guess, redeem themselves.
I suppose the difficulty, though, is, Faith, isn't it? You know, when you're going into that medical sphere and there's such you know, it's so difficult to get any of these doctors or healthcare professionals that have got APRA, you know, over the top of them, the regulator, the health regulator, to actually say anything publicly that would assist you when in fact that's what's really needed. I mean, the problem is, I mean, that those doctors helping you is fantastic, but there's so many more face out there that aren't even aware that they're vaccine injured, or their families aren't even aware of it. And this is the real issue, isn't it, Faith? I mean, they really do need to dig deep into their into their hearts and just say, well, look, this is the right thing to do. I think the time has come to actually put everything on the table now and have a conversation in this country about the vaccine injured and what these vaccines have done. I mean, it's clear they know that these things are dangerous because otherwise, Russell, they wouldn't have removed them from the order.
You're right, John. You're right. And it's so sad that Faith cannot access a compensation scheme that is relevant to her needs in this country. We are one of the wealthiest countries in the world. We can well afford to look after Faith. And she has been denied that opportunity by this democratically so-called elected government of the day. In fact, it's worse than that because they've been proponents to ignore people like myself, and especially they have ignored the vaccine injured. Unless you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars to make your case through the law to get through their system. It's a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. It beggars belief that this is going on. I mean, even in the UK, they seem to be streets ahead of us when you look at what went on. I mean, they didn't end up mandating for health professionals. I think that was in part due to Dr. Asim Malhotra's very strong stance in relation to the vaccine. But they have a compensation scheme now, which admittedly is not where it needs to be, but I think it's in excess of £100,000.
It's better than having nothing.
Exactly.
It's just sad at this point. It's sad that we are, what, 4, 5 years post the pandemic, and we're still talking about it, but we're not talking about it in the sense that we should be. We're not talking about how things have changed. We're not talking about how people have been affected by it. We're talking about, I believe there was a new strain released the other day. Like, cool, we don't care anymore. We wanna ask the questions of why did this happen? Why are we dealing with this now? Like, our world has completely changed post-COVID.
Well, I think
And
one of the craziest things I saw during the pandemic, and Hoodie would likely attest to this as well. I mean, we got a letter from the government from a viewer whose mother had died from the vaccine, and that was in the government paperwork. It was recognised. She'd written the viewer had written to Scott Morrison and said, "My mother has died from the vaccine," and he wrote back to her and said, "Listen, your father is likely entitled to some compensation under the vaccine injury scheme," and she was referred off to there by the Prime Minister. And Medicare wrote back to her, or the people that were administering the vaccination scheme came back to her and said in an official letter, "We're very sorry to let you know, unfortunately, death is not on the list of adverse events that are covered by the compensation scheme."
Yeah.
doesn't
Death.
sound like a lot was covered by the compensation scheme, in my opinion.
Yeah, the safety
It's
net that Scott Morrison bragged about, Russell Broadbent,
Yeah.
along with his brag that we don't mandate vaccines in this country. We're a free country. We believe in informed consent. The smiling assassin, every time I hear his name, I think of this smiling assassin who's head and shoulders on the TV screen, but below camera is sharpening a knife. He let the people down. He really did. Now, whether he was advised to behave the way he did and make the decisions he did, we're hearing more, particularly in Victoria, how health advice was not followed by the Premier and Cabinet, Daniel Andrews at the time, especially as it applied to lockdowns. We have to get to a point where we've got to put aside, oh man, if we admit we're wrong, we're really in for it. We've got to put that aside because, Faith, I want to ask you, how much difference would even an apology make to you, an official apology?
An official apology is great, but it's not change. an official apology. Look, it'd be great for me. Cool. Bit of closure. No, there's no change around it. You can say with a lovely little smile that I'm sorry you went through this and it's all great. And past me would have accepted that sympathy and that apology and moved on. Yeah, no, we're way past that now. There is no area. Like, an apology would be great, don't get me wrong. It'd be great. Acknowledgement and apology, great. But if it's just an apology, it's not worth anything.
What
What's
would it mean? What would it mean if Anthony Albanese called a press conference to apologise to the people of Australia for the mismanagement of the pandemic?
I think it would be good for a lot of closure. A lot of people, I know, I'm pretty sure there is no person that is currently existing that wasn't affected in some way by COVID-19 in general. People lost their jobs, people lost family members, loved ones. It was a major event. It's a major historical event we all lived through. And an apology and I guess, admitting the fact that, hey, we stuffed up is great. A lot of people find closure and things like that, but it's what you do after the apology that matters. It's what you do next. You can sit there and smile and say, hey, we're sorry, we messed up, but now this is what happens, would be great. It'd be good that there's systems in place for people to know where to go next. It'd be good if there was, for someone back in 2021, 2022, like me, who had nowhere to go, doctors weren't admitting anything, we're not helping, we're gaslighting, that was terrible. Like, I was made to believe it was all in my head. I'm pretty sure I have medical documents stating that it was, all in my head, or I presented with this type of psychological thing. But my blood results are showing up really bad. My heart rate's really bad. Like, all that's all good and well, but we need somewhere to turn to. We need somewhere we can go to get help and support. And that would have been incredibly helpful for 16-year-old me. So an apology would be great, but an apology with change is even better.
Well, normally, from a political perspective, you would hope that would happen, wouldn't you? Because if the Prime Minister said we want to apologise to the people of Australia, we got it wrong, you would expect to hear the following sentence: and we are now about to conduct a complete and thorough independent inquiry into how this went so badly wrong and how we make sure this never happens again. Russell, you would expect that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. At the Royal Commission level, which I called for 2 years, we live in a crazy world at the moment where I'm reminded of things that have happened since the election. A journalist gets shot in the foot by a rubber bullet overseas, and the Prime Minister gives her a personal call. A personal call. People in Melbourne were running away from police here shooting rubber bullets straight at them with no care for their health or well-being, and the press in Australia was backing the police. That's what kind of country we live in at the moment. Faith, I just want to say, all strength to your arm. It's time we all, did I go hard enough when I had the chance? I think I did. I don't think I could have done anything more than we did. And Graham, I thank all Hoody's heroes down in my part of the woods that looked after me and cared for me and backed me during the election campaign. It's greatly appreciated. Wonderful people. And I've got to remember, there was 11,000 people out there, nearly 11,000, that backed me in my own area, which was fantastic because they cared about people like Faith too. Mm. They care where this nation's going, and they care about our freedoms, and they care about who's running the place.
Oh no, sorry, you keep going.
No. I'll get on a high horse and you won't get me off it. I'll be gone.
I was just gonna say, I have felt so much support from Hoody's heroes and everything. I'm in Tassie, which is a small island that we often get forgotten about. And it's surprising how connected and community we all are here. I, throughout this whole journey, have had very little, backlash from all my Tassie family. I'm very, very lucky that people have supported me, because without them, I wouldn't be anywhere. I would probably still be terribly, terribly sick and not know what to do. And it was because of people like Hoodie's Heroes and you guys who are fighting. It's really, I'm very appreciative. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are also very appreciative. So I just want to say to everyone, um, all of you, thank you so, so much.
Yeah, look, it's a pleasure. And I remember Lynn Keeley, who passed away some time ago, was the national coordinator for Hoodies Heroes. She was based down south of Lornie. And, there's Trish and so many other people involved, Philip Ledbetter, and incredible people in Hoodies. And I'm really proud, not because I was instigating Hoodies Heroes, because I'm proud of the heroes that I look up to. That's why they're called Hoodies Heroes. These are people who come out of their lives to do something good to support other people, and that organisation is still going, and we encourage anybody who just has a heart to serve or just to be connected to join that group. You can do that through the Facebook pages. But so thanks for that mention, both of you. But Russell, obviously the people watching this interview will want to know where to for you now. Are you going to retire? What's your plan?
Well, you're automatically retired from the parliament if you lose. This is just a little interruption in a long journey to the truth, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll say to you and your audience, follow the money. Follow the money. Who were the people that gained out of our whole COVID experience? And when you follow the money, we'll find out the truth of what really went on around the world and Australia was caught up in. And it's too often Australia is caught up in international decisions, like the international decisions being made at the WHO at the moment, that if we don't as a nation say we're not going to enter into the agreements that we're entering into at the moment, if we don't say no and just acquiesce, we're locked into that as a nation and we lose sovereignty to the World Health Organization. And health decisions in Australia should be made by Australians here in Australia in the best interests of this nation. And these are the sorts of issues that should be followed. What's ahead for me? I've never known what was ever ahead for me. My past seems to be fixed before me before I know it. And what happens in life is what happens to you while you're making plans. So I can't tell you exactly what I'll be doing in a month's time or 2 months' time, but I know it's going to be exciting.
It sure is. And Russell, during your tenure in the last few years in particular, you were backed by an incredible staff.
Yeah, I was.
Amazing.
And I miss them. I miss them every day.
Yeah, I know. Tanya Danok, incredible lady. We call her the chief. She's been such a support to our organisation. And thank you to you again for allowing her to sort of participate in what we were doing to help us out. And Julie Sladden, also known and loved by you, I'm sure, Faith. She's been so active in Tasmania, a real champion. And we tried to get her on this morning at the last minute, but she's campaigning at the moment.
She's crazy campaigning at the moment. I've got to give it to her. It must be absolutely exhausting. I believe I actually get to see her hopefully some point today for her to drop in a sign for me. So hopefully I wish her all the best luck and all the support I can possibly give.
That's great.
Give her a big hug from us because we love Dr. Julie Sladden. She's a champ, John, eh?
Well, hopefully she gets elected, Hoodie, so that's another voice in Parliament that can continue the, doing what needs to be done and raising these very important life-changing issues. Russell did it so eloquently and with such passion for all those years, and we just need to pass the baton on. And Julie's obviously one of those people who will serve her state magnificently. So let's hope and pray that she gets up.
And,
both Tanya and Julie have great sense of humour, which has sustained them to all their time working with me and around me. So it's been great. So you need that.
You do need that. And look, we've asked Dr. Julie Sladden if she'd like to come onto the program to tell us all what she's doing, and I'm sure she'll find time to do that in the very near future. So those of you in Tassie and indeed around Australia who are interested will enjoy that interview. One final one from me, and then I want to hand back to John because last week we did an interview with Dr. Miley Trin. And when I was editing that interview afterwards, Michelle and I both listened to that story with tears in our eyes.
Yeah.
Dr. Miley Trin, a young girl whose mother was murdered by the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, who managed to escape thanks to her mother's help prior to being murdered into Vietnam, where she then ended up in a refugee camp in Malaysia with her auntie and then in Australia, worked not in a sweatshop, but a very hard-working sewing business with her auntie to make ends meet, becomes a doctor who saves the life of a patient that the health system in New South Wales was going to destroy because of their malfeasance, saved that woman's life with prescribing ivermectin, which she is experienced at prescribing in Cambodia to deal with issues over there when she attends a clinic every year voluntarily, is then suspended indefinitely by the octopus we call APRA. I mean, if that doesn't get people fired up, this organisation that really needs to be castrated. It's an organisation that is a blot on the health system, and that is why so many doctors who want to speak up are struggling because they're fearful of this monster that's called APRA. And John, you're the chair of the ACA. You were instrumental in getting the local government council of Australia to back a royal commission unanimously. You're at the coalface of all this stuff, and you're still locked in battle with APRA. Surely they have to go.
Well, it's obvious, Hoodie, that their tentacles are everywhere. I mean, even as it stands at the very moment, I mean, I'm trying to get. We've still got this thing over my head about APRA for public dissent on our program, or whatever they call it. Nobody can tell you; they can't give you any answers about where that's up to. I've applied for a security identification card for the airport, and it's suddenly held up at the Home Affairs Office with ASIO, with Tony Burke, because, obviously I'm coming up on their radar as somebody that should be on some terrorist watch list or something. Who knows what's going on? These are the effects that, people don't know about as a result of COVID. And this APRA, I mean, they're no different. We've reached out to them, Hoodie. We've reached out to the CEO to see whether we can have some dialogue with him, but there's been no response as yet. But they've been a real problem. I mean, I don't know anyone in life or at work that doesn't invoke some sort of system safety approach or process that identifies problems and yells about them. I mean, if you go to work and you see a PowerPoint that's uncovered or there's sparks coming out of it, I mean, you do what you can to raise the alarm, don't you? I mean, you cordon it off. You call the electrician. You put tape around. You tell the other employees, and you say, "Look, it's unsafe." And that's exactly what we tried to do during this COVID mess. And APRA were the ones that stifled that. I mean, they should just on that alone be investigated by the occupational health and safety authorities around Australia for putting lives at risk, and that's what they've done. I don't want a situation where pilots are not going to talk in the cockpit about potential dangers that might be faced in those cockpits. We don't want the same thing to happen during surgeries or even going to the GP. I mean, who knows whether the GPs that are even aware of what's going on, like Faith's GP, for instance. I mean, he or she may well be very aware of what's going on, but are they too scared to have that dialogue with other people? This is the real issue.
Yeah, there should be a non-punitive safety culture in medicine as there is in aviation. It works a treat, but sadly not so. But the situation with APRA continues to thwart many doctors who are busting to speak out, and we know that to be a fact. We know that there are a lot more doctors uncomfortable about this whole mess. And I am wondering when AHPRA is going to start investigating those doctors who, in spite of the amendment to the immunisation handbook, are still vaccinating kids under 18. Because that's what they should be doing. They should be making sure that these doctors are reading the documentation and acting accordingly. But they won't be doing that, will they?
No.
I hope. Well, we live in hope. So, look, we need to bring it to a close. It's been wonderful having you both on. Faith, we would really love you to keep us updated on a regular basis. Come on and tell us what you would like to see changed and how you would like to see it done. And let us know what you're up to along the way. I'd love to get you on.
Yes.
With Julie Sladden and Russell, we'd also, you've got a wealth of information after years of service in the federal parliament. We'd love to keep touching base with you if we could, even just to get your perspective on certain issues.
Love to talk to you.
Be fantastic. And Johnny, you're heading off to the local government shindig.
Local government conference in Canberra. Yeah, we've got a motion up for a Royal Commission into the handling of COVID. So we're all the delegates from across Australia, so all the mayors and general managers will be coming to this local government conference. So hopefully that gets up. I think it's it's an opportune time. I think there's as we know, there's a lot more stuff happening. So yeah, let's see where we go. But yeah, look, I'd love to get you back, Faith, and maybe talk about the control. You're obviously studying psychology now. I think it would be a great opportunity for you to give your insights on the control and the psychological mess that this has created. From the top down, and as Russell said, you follow the money.
Yeah, I would be absolutely honored to come back. Though I'm not certified yet. I've still got a good 5 or so years to go, but I'm sure I could share some insights.
Well, there's a whole bunch of bureaucrats and politicians in Canberra who aren't certified, and they need to be. Anyway, look, I want to draw everyone's attention to the interview with Miley Trin. That desperately needs support in whatever way you can support. I want to talk about Dr. Beverly Pearce. She's fighting in the High Court, an amazing case. She needs money. She needs funds. And look, there's large amounts of money being given to another potential court case that may or may not happen in Victoria. But Dr. Beverly Pearce has a chance to change the climate around this whole thing in the High Court, and that desperately needs support. It's not a huge amount. So come on, Australia, get behind her. You can get the links for that fundraising on our pages from the previous stories we've done. And I want to give a big shout out to the Daily Australian. I've been watching that program with Nicola Charles and Jason Olborn. And I tell you what, it's really good quality stuff. It's up-to-date news. They've been plugging the daylights out of Club Grubbery as well. And we unashamedly plug the daylights out of the Daily Australian because we want good, meaty, authentic journalism of the people. That's what it's all about. So, Faith, I had the pleasure of praying with you in Tasmania when we were on tour down there. And if you don't mind, we'll close this with a prayer. Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, Father in heaven, we just thank you, Lord, that you bring us together in the light of truth. And Lord, many people are refusing to see the light of that truth. Many are unaware that it even exists, and a great many are ignoring it. So, Father, we're praying for them. All we want to see is that justice be served and that remedy be brought to bear on people who need remedy. And that is the entire nation of Australia. So, Lord, be with us, guide and lead us with compassion, love, mercy, and care. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Well, Johnny, final comment?
Well, look, I hope that TV doctor talks his channel into doing a story on the vaccine injured. And if nothing else comes of this than that, I think that would be a great outcome and a great service to his country to actually do that. He's got the means to do it. So let's expose it on mainstream media. Talk the Spotlight program or the 60 Minutes or the Four Corners. Have a word with your TV buddies. Let's get this out in the open once and for all. Yeah.
And John, we both know this man to have some integrity. So let's just leave it at that. He's a person we would happily talk to on this program at any time to have a frank, open discussion. So, Johnny Larder, you've often been heard to say,
you just couldn't make this stuff up.
you couldn't make this stuff up. Faith Ranson and Russell Broadbent, great to have you on. It's been a fantastic interview. And don't forget, Australia, if you love it, stand for it. It's worth it. And you make it what it is, whether you agree with us or not. So God bless you and stay out of the trees. And we'll see you very soon once again on Club Grubbery. Bye for now.